9.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day. Welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Director of Financial Analysis at the Institute for Energy, Economics and Financial Analysis, Tom Sanzillo, does not believe that the revenue stream from Guyana's oil and gas sector is being prudently managed to ensure future generations benefit. Sanzillo pointed out that the government has not been prioritizing saving the funds generated from the industry like Norway, but has instead embarked on a massive infrastructural and energy development scheme which may very well benefit its partner, ExxonMobil, more than the citizens in the country. The Natural Resource Fund Act, passed in December of 2021 by the current administration, sets a framework for annual withdrawals from the account. According to Sanzillo, the country's leaders then decide how the revenue is spent. This is the second year that the government tapped the fund to support its budget. Importantly, the legislation lacks strict penalties for misuse of the funds and set no jail time for mismanagement of the resources. The NRF law only stipulates jail time for the Minister of Finance if he fails to report on any deposits into the oil account. Meanwhile, the recent comments by John Hess, Chief Executive Officer of Hess Corporation, that Guyana's head of state was emphatic that a stay would be put in place following the High Court's order for Esso to provide an unlimited guarantee from its parent company, has sparked concern among Guyanese that the rule of law is under threat. Our Wealth, Our Country, an independent organization with hundreds of Guyanese members, believes President Ali must clear the air on the matter. The body said the government will now have to explain why the Hess boss told the U.S. Energy Conference that the president assured him a stay of the full liability protection ruling by Justice Sandil Kissoon would be issued. The civil society body said it is concerned that the rule of law is under threat if business groups can go to the president directly seeking solace and interventions if they do not like court decisions. In calling on none other than President Ali to clear the air on the matter, the group added, "This is quite disturbing, as ordinary Guyanese do not have the privilege of seeking presidential assistance if they do not like court decisions." In other news, a county in the state of Oregon in the USA last week filed a lawsuit against several oil giants, including ExxonMobil Corporation, for over $51 billion for the damages caused by the 2021 Pacific Northwest heat dome, which caused the death of 6 to 9 people. In a statement last Thursday, the Multnomah County announced that it filed suit against several of the largest fossil fuel and coal-producing corporations, seeking to hold them accountable for the damages arising from the 2021 Pacific Northwest heat dome, one of the most deadly and destructive human-made weather disasters in American history. And just before we head to a short break, let's tell you the teenage girl who was allegedly raped by Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Nigel Dharamlal reportedly released the rape allegation story after her parents allegedly took a settlement from the accused. According to a relative, the accused and the girl's parents had a meeting. It was during this meeting that the parents reportedly agreed to take a settlement instead of pursuing the matter. When the allegation surfaced, we had contacted the girl, and during the first conversation, she had declined to comment. However, she later returned the call to clarify that she was not involved. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We'll return shortly after the break.
It seems like children have been home home from school forever. And you've done baking, drawing, schoolwork, and played Ring of Roses about 100 times. We've all been under some strain lately, but let us embrace our children. They're under strain too. Let's show them more love, patience, and care. Let's help to build their resilience in these trying times. Not just today or tomorrow, but for the future. Their future.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. A 52-year-old woman, Vidya Tai, called Auntie Mala, was on Monday morning killed after she was struck down by a car along the Lagrange Public Road, West Bank, Demerara. According to police, the accident occurred just around 5 hours 50 and involved a hire car owned and driven by 35-year-old Timothy Waldron of South Rhymeville, Georgetown. The car was heading north along the western side of the road at a fast rate when the driver claimed that while he was in the process of overtaking a motor car that was in front of him, the woman suddenly ran across the road. Investigations are ongoing. Adding to the $218 million that has already been spent on the ongoing rehabilitation of the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall, the NPTAP office recently awarded another contract worth $60.3 million. This time it is to complete the works to the northern face of the building. On its website, NPTAP stated that the $60 million contract was awarded to S&K Construction Consultancy Services and General Supplies. Meanwhile, the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, on Monday released initial comments on the proposed petroleum activities bill, describing the draft document as a missed opportunity to ensure oil companies take full responsibility for a spill. In prefacing its comments on the draft legislation, the political group noted that it is dismayed by how unresponsive the government is with regards to the experience gained and lessons learned from the problems and challenges that have engulfed the local oil and gas industry over the last few years. The opposition said it will speak in greater detail on the bill when it is presented to the National Assembly. In addition to its concerns on the lack of provisions in the legislation to hold oil companies to account for oil spills and other disasters, the opposition also raised 7 other issues in its initial comments. And now let's tell you the 16-year-old girl who was allegedly raped by Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Nigel Dharam Lal is presently in the protective custody of the Child Care and Protection Agency of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. In a statement released last evening, the CPA disclosed that the girl remains in their custody as she is being offered counseling. The agency also reminded that the circulation of the child's photograph in the matters of this nature on social media is an unlawful act. Since the rape allegations surfaced against the embattled minister, this is the first statement issued by the CPA. Meanwhile, the globally recognized oil and gas news agency oilprice.com said there are growing fears that the vast oil wealth flowing into this country of less than 1 million will fuel already endemic corruption and poor governance, causing Guyana to fall victim to the oil curse. In a recent article on this country's oil sector, the news agency said Guyana only needs to look next door to Venezuela to see how over-reliance on oil and the vast wealth the fossil fuel generates to see how it can breed corruption, erode civic culture, foment conflict, and even destroy a country. The report noted that in less than 3 decades, Venezuela, after Hugo Chavez's socialist Bolivarian revolution began, emerged as a near-failed state. And in Guyana, the 3 alleged hijackers who were captured following a shootout with members of the Guyana Police Force last August were on Monday sentenced for abduction and 2 armed robbery charges. Those jailed are 33-year-old Raul Franklin, called Mad Max and Raw Dog, 18-year-old Emmanuel Haley, and 22-year-old Hamza Samuels. The trio was found guilty by Magistrate Russia Liverpool at the Sparendam Magistrates Courts, who subsequently sentenced them to 5 years for the robbery under arms charges, but 1 year was deducted for the time they spent on remand, and they were sentenced to 5 years for abducting taxi driver Joshua Singh. The state was represented in the matter by police prosecutor Sergeant Ramjitan. And that does it for your News at Noon for today. And of course, we close things off by turning the pages of today's Kaieteur newspaper. Justice for the Madia 20. More than a month after a fire at the female dormitory at the Madia Secondary School killed 20 children, an inquiry is yet to be held, although one was promised by President Ali. Following the tragedy, social media and the state-owned news agencies were abuzz with ministers hugging and kissing the relatives of the deceased. Photo ops with some of the survivors were aplenty. There were also tears. But weeks after, the same ministers cannot be seen anywhere near Madia. And perhaps after leaping from one crisis to another, the Ali government does not know where to begin. What we know, justice for those precious souls must be served, and this nation will not rest until a credible inquiry is held.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
It is Tuesday. It is June 27th. Welcome to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I'm GHK Lal on the National Outlook. We're going to talk about something a couple of times this week, and it has to do with children, with alleged rape, with political people possibly involved. From last Thursday's Kaieteur newspaper, we get Dharmlal will have to face the consequences if rape allegations are true. Jagdeo says party cannot put its neck on a block for anyone. You know what I want to tell you, folks? This is what I want to put before you. Everybody is saying the right thing. There is not a strand of hair out of place. There is not a step that is missed. There is no word that is wrong. Everybody's seeing God right now. If you're found guilty, you will pay the price. Sounds good, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right, and I'll tell you why. And I go back to my brother, Dr. Jagdeo, Vice President. I am aware that many in this country looks upon him as God, as a hero, and that's your right. That's your right. But let me tell you where I stand. If and when Dr. Jagdeo, Brother Barry Jagdeo, had given me the grounds to believe him, I'd be in front of you. I'd be pushing you out of the way and say, that's my guy. That's my leader. Because, he's about what is trusted, what is reliable. So when he says Dharmlal will have to face the consequences if rape allegations are true, party cannot put its neck on block for anyone. I'm sorry, but I have to take that with a whole spoon of salt, a whole big hot spoon of salt, as you would say. And it doesn't go down well. It does not go down well because of how he has said a lot of things and not done many things, has not followed up and delivered on the substances of those things. Everything for him has another angle. And look, Minister Dharamlal must be dealt with fairly. These are only allegations. Let us remember that. And if allegations were made against you and allegations are made against me, we are entitled to innocence until proven guilty. That's a standard. That's the foundation of our legal system, our justice system. And I'm saying to you that this exact same standard belongs to Minister Nigel Dharamlal. Let there be no mistaking where I stand on this. On the other hand, if a crime has been committed and the evidence that is gathered supports such a conclusion that a crime has been committed, then he must face the music. Minister Dharamlal must face the full reach of the law. If he has to go to jail, he goes to jail. We don't want to hear about fines. We don't want to hear about him resigning. If he has to go to jail, he must go to jail, but only if a sufficiency of evidence has been gathered, he's taken before a court of law, and he is judged guilty of what he's charged about. Before we can get to the court, after the police is finished with its investigation, it said it is preparing a file for the DPP's office. This is where things come to a head. DPP can sit on that file and look at it and say, well, we don't have enough here to proceed with charges to court. My fellow Guyanese, that would be the end of the matter. You can kick up a stink. Others can scream bloody hell. I hope that's allowed on the radio. But at the end of the day, the DPP would have ruled, and that would be the end of that. So bear that in mind. There are some who have doubts about how the DPP has run, the DPP office is run. That's not for this discussion. That's off the table. If Minister Dharamlal must be given the fullest due process. And if he's charged, found guilty, then he must go to jail. I'm GHK Lal on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. You are listening to the National Outlook.
Keep calm, but listen on.
Rocking the waves with Kaieteur Radio.
Demerara